Questions and comments. The honourable member for Winnipeg North.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I disagree with many of the things that the member opposite has said. You know, at the end of the day, as a Liberal member of Parliament, and I believe within the very heart of the Liberal caucus, you will see an appreciation of Canada's diversity, which is second to no other caucus. We understand the true value of what diversity can do for Canada, Mr. Speaker, not only for today, but for tomorrow. So when the Prime Minister talks about looking for opportunities that go beyond the relationship between Canada and the United States, we can look at other countries, whether it was from talking about India to Africa to Philippines and so forth. Using that diversity, we can build a stronger and healthier country. And I would challenge the member to be as bold to say and to make the attempt to recognize the important role that diversity plays in our society today.
The honourable member for Thornhill.
I'm not sure that was a question, and perhaps it was a comment, but it is more platitudes from this government that talks about diversity. They talk a strong game about diversity. But when it comes to the actual protection of minorities, for the lawlessness that is in the streets, and not just in the Jewish community, and not just against Christian churches, and not just against Hindu temples, they are nowhere to be found. The same repeat violent offenders, the same mobs of people covering their faces are the ones that rule the streets, and they have been silent about it. So perhaps he can tell the Prime Minister that this is actually a problem, since the Prime Minister has come back to Canada, and he can advise him on doing something rather than saying nothing, or in the case that when they do say something, that it is not parroting the talking points of a terrorist organization.
The honourable député.
The honourable member for Shefford. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to thank my colleague for the question. At the beginning of her speech, she talked about housing, which is a concern to many people currently, given the situation, the difficulty accessing property and finding housing. But in the throne speech, what we saw was the Liberal government's desire to transform itself into a developer at the expense of Quebec and the province's jurisdiction and the municipalities. So my question is, could this be a Conservative Party influence, because the Conservatives had the same desire to deal directly with the municipalities on housing, bypassing the provinces? So basically, that's bypassing Quebec and provincial jurisdiction. The honourable member for Thornhill.
To the de-accelerator funding or whatever the last scheme of the Liberal government was in terms of giving municipalities more money in order to block more home building. It's the exact opposite of what we have said. When I talked about home ownership in the speech, I talked about it as an aspiration that so many in this country have, and the blocking of it from governments right across the board, municipal, federal, provincial, who don't see the value in actually getting home built. In fact, we have a housing minister whose record in Vancouver was to have housing prices rise 180%, who is now building a bureaucracy rather than building homes, who is married to the generational divide that the Liberals have caused in this last election between those who own their home and those aspiring to get one. That is not the right course of action, and Conservatives will stand ready to make sure that we bring the solutions to the floor of this House of Commons and they take more of our ideas on it.
Honourable member for Sherwood Park, Fort Saskatchewan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. First of all, I want to thank the member for her powerful words about anti-Semitism. My grandmother was a Holocaust survivor, and I remember growing up and hearing some of the stories she would share with us about her experiences. And it is very dark to see some of the things that have happened in this country and other Western countries around the world. I did want to ask the member about youth unemployment, the rise we're seeing, and what she's seeing in particular in her riding in terms of the unemployment crisis that's going right now.
Great question.
Seconds.
Speaker, I would be the first one to tell you that I don't want to talk about anti-Semitism in this House or ever in this country, and I don't think anybody should ever have to. But the fact that they don't leads me to use this seat and speak for my community. With regards to youth unemployment, look, I think the data is very clear. We're seeing the highest youth unemployment in Ontario. We're seeing the highest unemployment rates in Ontario, and